again, and welcome to the Author Roundup. This special segment of the Book Connection Show showcases emerging indie authors who join us for a discussion of their newly published books. Join us for a conversation with our next guest author. Hi, how are you? My name is Emma, and I will be your host for today's episode of Author Roundup. And I am here with a special guest today. He is a self-published author, Ted Hood. Ted Hood is an author of the new Enemies to Lovers romance Metamorphosis. The story is a fiction, but the emotional discoveries are those of Ted himself. Hi, Ted. How are you today?
Hey, great. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So your book Metamorphosis came out this year, a couple months ago. Can you tell us about it?
Well, we printed it a couple months ago, but it's really
Okay.
just going live now. So,
Okay, perfect.
but Metamorphosis, as you indicated, in terms of the story, is a story of it's a romance of enemies to lovers, but it is a story behind that of my emotional growth. At this late age, it took me a long time. I'm a slow learner. So I came from somewhat of a despondent, emotional, non-connection kind of world and awakened. And so that's why I use asleep, aware, awake, alive as the
Mm-hmm.
subtitle.
Okay. And what inspired you to write Metamorphosis? What sort of specific moment, I guess, or emotional experience? Uh,
Okay, well,
yeah.
okay, thank you. Yeah, well, there are two. The main experience is one where I send Ronald in the book to atlasproject.org, and that's really where my whole story occurred.
Okay.
So there was no Melina in my life, but there was atlasproject.org, and so it's 2 weekends and then a period of time after that. That experience just came at a point in my life where I just really needed it, and it was a time when I was searching for some answers. Had made some mistakes in the previous few years, and so I was looking for those answers. This time together was it's a training where you're not sitting at a desk taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
It's experiential training, and it really worked. Experiential training, the idea is that when you do something experientially, you walk away with the concept, whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
with it really a part of you. And so that's actually what happened. So it's kind of an out of the head, into the heart experience. But let me just share one other element to that because it's really important in terms of the inspiration. At the end of that period of time, there's a little cactus that I keep over here. And so I just want to tell you that brief story because that's really the ultimate inspiration.
Oh,
Um, the last day we were in a desert in Texas at a ranch, and the instructor had each of us go out and come back at 7 a.m. in the morning. So you have 15 minutes, go out and come back. So you couldn't walk any more than about 7 minutes. So find something out there that speaks to you. And
mm-hmm.
so 22 of us, and we all came back with something different. So as I'm walking out, I see a little cactus, and I kind of just kick it with my toe, and it falls right over. I said, "That's my guy," right? I picked this little cactus up, and he's so young that he's not real prickly yet. And I take it back, and I'm going to actually have to read my notes from that morning.
Oh, yes, please do.
Okay. The instructor asked us to write three things about that cactus. And so let me preface it with this. As you see, I'm an older guy, and here I have just experienced an emotional awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has changed for me. And somewhere in the back of the recesses of my mind, I'm like, I've learned this so late. Now what? What am I going to do with this? It's too
Mm-hmm.
late. Jack, you wasted all your life, Ted. So why not? That's kind of what was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
so she had us come back and write three things about the cactus. And so I wrote that this is new life just beginning, whole and fresh. It has short roots and can easily come out of the ground. It's a cactus, so it can live without much water. And thirdly, but when rooted deeply, it brings life to others for years.
Hmm.
And so then she simply had to scratch through the cactus and write, I am. I am.
Oh.
I, for months, I couldn't reread this. I'm okay now. I am new life, just beginning, whole and fresh. I have short roots and can easily come out of the ground. I can live without much water. Well, for me, that was I can live without a lot of encouragement and can be self sustained.
Hmm.
But when rooted deeply, I bring life to others for years. And so that's what I want my writing to do, is to bring life where there was death. Yeah. So,
Oh, that's great. That was a lovely exercise, and it's wonderful that you still have the cactus.
yeah, I'm going to
That's
keep them
awesome.
forever, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned it briefly, but the novel's subtitle is Asleep, Aware, Awake, Alive, and that, suggests a journey of transformation. What does that progression mean to you personally and within the story?
Well, that in fact, emotionally, I was like many other, I think, guys in general in this world, especially in our culture, where we're moving so fast and doing so many things that we're just focused on doing and not being. And
Mm-hmm.
what we learned that weekend is there is an us that is a being.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? And that was really the question that I had to answer is who I am. To most people from the outside looking in, say, it took you this long to figure that out, Ted? Yep. As I say, I'm a slow learner. So it was coming to grips with with the emotional reality of not running away from my emotions, as I've done many times, and as in the story you'll see Ronald does,
Mm-hmm.
but embracing my emotions and experiencing them and reckoning that they are a good gift from God that are used to now inform me and are useful to me. I don't have to run away from them. And so that was the becoming aware and coming to life.
Okay. And so let's talk about the main characters. Can you tell us about the characters and a little bit about them?
Well, Ronald is an attorney, and he and Melina had a brief time in college together. He was graduating when she was just coming in as a freshman,
Mm.
and so she's a life coach, and even then she knew that's what she wanted to be, and so she had some experiments that she was doing as a freshman, and Ronald was part of that. So they had a little bit of conflict that occurred way back then, and so here it is now, 12 years later, and he's coming from New York, and she is living there in Tucson, Arizona. And so um, the animosity that was there previously stirs up in the initial meetings, and really lasts for about half of the book, really,
Mm.
because it is enemies to lovers, and that's part of the fun of it is how are these two ever going to get together? But it's
Mhm.
also the reality, it's also the magic of how the magnetism of two different people come together. And so that's what occurs in the book is that these two wildly different people who are very emotional and very in touch with who she is and
Mhm.
what life is all about. And him just kind of living in his head as an attorney, just looking to win cases. And that's kind of where he lived.
Mhm.
And so those are the two main characters. And Ronald has a son, Danny. And so Danny plays a big part in it because he and Melina connect very quickly and very
Mhm.
closely. And so even though Ronald is kind of still outside of her sphere, she has kind of fallen in love with little 12-year-old Danny.
Mhm.
So he's an important part of it too.
Okay. And so you mentioned that Ronald and Melina, they represent like two very different worldviews, logic and emotional healing. How did you approach their characters and how different they were and contrasting into your book?
Well, really, the entire book is the dialogue.
Okay.
The dialogue is what is Ronald thinking?
Okay.
How is he responding and reacting? What is Melina thinking? And how is she trying to help him see uh, where he doesn't have a clue?
Mm-hmm.
And so the dialogue and there's lots of it is really kind of the essence of the story. because that's where it happens. So that's where you hear those thoughts, and that's where you hopefully enter into the picture, and you begin to consider your own life and say, how does that work for me, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the entire book, it's that dialogue going on and that difference
Mm-hmm.
between the two,
Mm-hmm.
to where finally he finally awakens.
Okay. And Melina's career as a life coach, you mentioned, adds a very like unique element to the story. Did her character draw from real life experiences or research or anything like that? How did you go about creating her character?
She kind of comes across as the perfect woman,
Okay.
and and even somewhere in the course of the dialogue, it's stated that we know there is no such thing,
Mm-hmm.
because she comes across that way,
Yeah.
certainly to Ronald. And so the idea that she has this real heart to help people, and this real connection with her own heart and who she herself is.
Mm-hmm.
It's what comes out. And she, in a very natural way, is able to draw people out and is able to connect with them in a way that, again, is totally alien to Ronald.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And your book is about, I don't want to give too much away, but is about second chances, and there may or may not be a second chance with these characters. What are your thoughts on second chances when it comes to relationships?
Well, that's an interesting question, because in the midst of over these years, my wife and I separated and divorced, and yet we currently have an ongoing relationship. Of course, we have grandkids together and all of
Yeah,
that.
of course.
And so we stay very, very much connected. And
Mhm.
we may even do a move back together thing. We'll see
Yeah,
as
you never
time
know.
goes on. So as it relates to Ronald and Melina, uh, while that's a little bit of a second part, a side part of it, because their time together in college was so short that
Mm,
there wasn't a real deep connection. And so, but technically, yeah, it is a second chance
okay.
for
Okay.
them.
And another part is your book deals with emotional trauma and healing in a very real way. What do you hope readers take away about vulnerability and emotional resilience?
I really hope that readers will see what pieces of it themselves um, they need to embrace, and just begin to think about, because we do live asleep sometimes
Mhm.
regarding our emotions, not really
Yeah.
confronting them and looking at them, and assessing them and wondering what's going on, but rather
Mhm.
just not necessarily running away, maybe pushing them down, maybe
Mhm.
avoiding and ignoring them and not even thinking about them. So we do a lot of things with emotions that, and again, I guess especially men, but
Mhm.
maybe both. And so I want people to just realize that, there's a whole nother you going on,
Mhm.
that you want to be in touch with, because it's a
Mhm.
huge part of life. And if
Right.
we ignore it, or if we run away from it, then we miss a significant part of the beauty of this wonderful thing we call life.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so you've written a book talking about these things, but personally in your life and as a result of having that experience you talked about in the beginning, um have you kind of advocated for this type of um awakening to friends and family, or especially friends that are men, things like that? Have you shared with them your experiences and how dealing with your emotions and addressing them is just it's a good thing, it's not a bad thing
Yeah.
to hide your emotions, or it's in the end it's probably doing a disservice to yourself?
Yeah. Um, to a few very close friends who I kind of came back to, because I had this kind of 10-year prodigal life experience where I
Mm-hmm.
kind of ran away in a big time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, from like everything. So that was, before 2 years ago. And so for those friends that were in my world previously, I come back and have shared those things.
Oh, that's great.
To the guy on the street, not so much.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so and even if within my family, yeah, I wanted them to know it and to embrace it and to understand it, and to some extent they do, but to some extent they don't. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a very personal experience where um, you for me, yes, I had to come back and I had to I've come back in a whole different way. I mean, before I was
Yeah.
quiet and I wouldn't share anything because
Mhm.
I didn't want anyone to see who was inside or know what I was thinking. And
Mhm.
so, while I was there and quote available, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so all of that has changed to where now I'm sharing regularly with my grandkids.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm trying to let them see what I see, and whether they use it or not, that'll be their choice. And if
Yeah.
God uses it in their life, wonderful. But it's not me trying to teach them or bring them along in some way. I'm just sharing now where before I didn't.
Yeah. I think also your experience is another life lesson that, individuals, we should always be wanting to adapt and change and understand ourselves and grow and improve ourselves. So I think that's also another great, life lesson that you've shared through your book and through your personal experience as well.
Yeah, at this age, you can still change,
Yeah, you
right?
can. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit, but your novel is written in POVs, but also dual POVs, point of views. Why did you choose that narrative structure, and how did it help reveal both characters' worlds and perspectives?
Okay, that's a good question. Uh, One, frankly, it's an easier writing if you get
Okay.
right down to it.
Okay.
But B, it allowed me to bring out their thoughts and what they were thinking while they were away from each other, and then to bring that dialogue back into it as to when they were together. And so I just found it a kind of an ideal format for doing that most important thing that I wanted to do, and that is, the thoughts whereby we are living in our head rather than in our heart, to come out so that someone could hear those thoughts and again maybe embrace. I kind of think that way sometimes,
Yeah.
and so for me it was just kind of a natural format for this particular purpose, where
Okay.
I didn't want to just tell a story, but I wanted to get into the heads and the hearts of the individuals.
Right. Yeah, I will say personally, I love a lot of dialogue and I love dual POVs and stories because it really I feel like hooks readers in, and it also shows and exemplifies empathy as well because you're
Mhm.
seeing, what it's like in this person's mind and this person's mind, which I really appreciate, especially in a romance novel as well. So
It does, yeah.
great. And what kind of reader do you think will connect most deeply with Metamorphosis? Did you have a sort of target audience when you were writing this book of who could embrace this book more? Or who did you write the book for? Maybe.
From my point of view, you want everybody to read it.
Right, yeah.
But in reality, it'll be a group of somewhere between 25 or 35 to 55 or 60, range of people, and it will be mostly women. But my hope is that those women take some of the ideas and the thoughts and have an opportunity to converse with the males in their life, whether it be son, grandson, whether it be mate, that they will, have opportunity just to use it and say, there was something interesting in this book that I think, you might like to understand.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I do hope it'll get to the male head uh,
Hmm.
as well. So.
Okay, nice. And are there any real life lessons about, love and forgiveness or healing that you hope your audience walks away with?
Well, because for me, connecting with the idea of love was has always been a challenge,
Hmm.
it was important for me to have Melina actually explain it. There's a plane trip to and from California, and each of those trips, on the trip over to California, he's sharing some things, and he's feeling like he loves her, but he doesn't even know what love feels like. And so on this
Mhm.
trip back, she explains to him what love is.
Mhm.
And so that was very, I think, beneficial for him and for the reader.
Mhm.
And for me. So again, yeah, it was a real, very real thing. I remember one person in my life said, I don't think you know what love is. And at the moment that I heard that years ago, I thought about it and I kind of wondered about it, but I didn't take it any deeper. But as I look back on it, I say, hmm, I
Yeah.
didn't, I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
I think that's a question that everyone, goes through or thinks about, no matter what age, what does love feel like? What should I be looking for? What's the feeling that it comes with it? So yeah, I think that's something a lot of people can relate to for sure. Um,
Yeah, I try and take it out of that realm of feelings and into
yeah.
that world of commitment and that connection that you have. And so I do a differentiation there a little bit so that
Okay.
people kind of get out of the world of thinking of feelings because it's
Hmm.
kind of our natural default as we think about the feelings.
Hmm.
But I think one of the most interesting parts is the fact that it takes Ronald so long to come to the place where he opens up and freely is ready to tell her that he loves her because he's
Hmm.
fighting this whole idea of do I or don't I, or how is she going to reject? Is she going to react? Is she going to reject me? And so he doesn't. So he doesn't say it. And of course, she's in a role in such a way that she's not really giving any indication that there's anything going on for him. So
Hmm.
that makes it even more hard and more difficult for him
Hmm.
to deal with. So it takes him a long time, and he finally says it, and that's a neat part of the story right there.
Okay, very cool. So when did you start writing this book?
It's been a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it would be done in about 4 or 5 months because it was kind of flowing because I'd
Hmm.
just gone through that experience at Atlas, and so it was coming out and coming together. But you know, I, while I've written a few other books that what I call practice under another pen name in a previous time, I uh, just kind of put those out. This one was so important to me. I wanted everything to be just right. And so I
Hmm.
spent the time and the money to have editing done and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, about a year and a half.
Okay. And what was your writing process like? Did this story, like you mentioned, you wanted it in 4 to 5 months, but how was the writing process like?
Well, as I say, initially it all kind of flowed out and came out together. And so then it became a process of writing and rewriting and rereading and
Hmm.
going over it and over it until I got it to where I wanted it to be.
Okay.
So, and you add and you take away as time goes on. But the point is that um, I wrote a lot of it initially, and it
Hmm.
came out kind of in a flowing way, so to speak.
Hmm. Okay.
And and remember, while it took a year and a half to write, it's a decades long
Hmm.
coming,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it's like it finally came out.
Yeah.
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 And you mentioned that you've written books before and published before.
I self-published I'm calling this Experiences of Life series.
Okay.
Experiences of Life series. And so Metamorphosis is book one.
Okay.
Book two, I wrote 25 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's a business book.
Okay.
Uh, and and yet I find when I reread that, and because I'm rewriting it now, um,
Hmm.
that the principles that I use are the same. And my style is similar to what I'm doing now
Oh,
in,
really? Okay.
in terms of using examples and my life story and trying to set out some examples for young people going into business. And
Hmm.
so yeah, so I'm rewriting that. That'll be number two in the series. Number three, if you're ready for it, is to me what the whole thing is all about. Number three in the series will be 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald and Melina have, you know, been together and had a couple of children. Ronald has, I'm sorry, Danny has moved on out of the house, but he's still a part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
But now Ronald is just trying to figure out his relationship with God.
Mm, okay.
And he is perplexed. And so again, another autobiographical thing. Okay, that's where I was. I was an elder in the church, and led taught the Sunday school classes and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But something was missing for me, and so this story we'll probably call the pursuit is what I'm looking so forward to complete this year. I've kind of started it. I'll
Okay.
get most of it started hard this summer, but that's really the desire of my heart right now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
for this reason. I'll go ahead and share that. A.W. Tozier wrote The Pursuit of God. It's a classic that is just very, very powerful. And I don't want A.W. Tozier to be left in the grave. Um, he died in maybe 1960 or something, but this book continues to be published and read by many, but
Mm-hmm.
not enough from my
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And so
Mm-hmm.
this will be an edifying of A.W. Tozier and his book, The Pursuit of God.
Okay.
It'll be done in a very unique way with some sci-fi and all that sort of thing in order to communicate the great imagery that he used that came from his heart. He wrote that book in one night.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it's a short little thing, but so powerful. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's what I'm working on now. That's what I'll continue to work on through the end of the year, and I hope to complete it. And that, you know, Metamorphosis is the emotional story. The pursuit is the spiritual story.
Okay, I like the series perspective that you have going on. I like that you have three parts and yeah, that's awesome. How do you think you'll feel once the third book is done?
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got other ideas and other plans and other ones kind of on the back burner,
Okay.
but this is kind of the essence of it.
Yeah.
Asking God to give me enough life to get these out there and get it
Mhm.
done because I really believe it's what
Yeah.
He would have me to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say your writing style or experience was like for Metamorphosis compared to your I guess second book, your business book? What was the experiences like for both of those writing?
Well, the business book was written. I just sold a business, and I had opportunity to kind of think things through, and I wanted to put something out there to help young people going into business. And I think
Mhm.
it does that in a very wonderful way.
Mhm.
Basic principles, but if you don't think about them ahead of time, you'll what I call fall prey to certain of the pitfalls that come your way if you don't consider these important elements.
Mhm.
And I use my own life experiences that that flows out to. I had a bankruptcy within corporate bankruptcy during the early days of that business, and sold and bought businesses and all that. So it's all from experience. So in that respect, it's the same.
Mhm.
It's a whole different. It's more of a self help kind of book. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. And what is your writing routine like? Do you have a routine that you like to commit to when you're writing?
I've still been working. And
Oh,
so that's been the difficulty of writing is that I pretty much have to do in the weekends or times when I go away.
mm-hmm.
Because when you're working, your mind is not there, and
Mm-hmm.
while your heart's there, you can't really get into it. So
Mm-hmm.
I would try and come home, and and I just wasn't able to do it that way. Um, so that was the challenge of writing, and I think is maybe the challenge for many writing that are working other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, so now it is a little bit different because I can have those set aside times, but I don't limit myself. I really kind of, plan my day in such a way that if this happens, then great. If not, there's plenty of other things I need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, marketing is on my mind because, nothing happens until a sale is made. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
chapters in my first book.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be marketing in this world because, nobody knows you're out there if you're not. We have, by the way, a wonderful trailer to the book that people will be able to click on Amazon.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
it just does a powerful story, 1 minute kind of a video telling about this couple
Okay.
and what's going on. So I really hope people will find that on Amazon and enjoy
Okay.
that. Even if they don't buy the book, but go and enjoy that little trailer.
Okay. So it's available on Amazon? You
Yes.
can, okay, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And was there a particular part of Metamorphosis that was the most fun to write? Can you think of like a scene or something that you really enjoyed?
Yeah. I think the most fun is what I call the Christian cameos. It's not technically a Christian book.
Mm-hmm.
Westbow Publishers is, a division of Thomas Nelson, so
Mm-hmm.
it's in the Christian world. But this particular book is not considered a Christian book.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it fits all of the criteria in terms of, what they required in terms of language and all that sort of
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Okay.
Um, but so what I like to do, and again, when I went back to my old book that I'm rewriting right now, I did the same thing there. I had Christian
Oh,
cameos in that business book,
values. Okay.
and there are two scenes where Melina shares who she is. Chapter 26 is the first time, he kind of came on to her, and she let him know right away that wasn't anything that she wanted to be involved in, and that but she thought about it, and she she responded instead of reacted. If you react right away, she feels like you don't get the message across as clearly, and I want him to learn. And so she thought about it for a couple of days. She came back and she expresses in a beautiful way who she is. And as she does that, she does bring scripture into it, and she brings in why she, for instance, maintains abstinence. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not a do's and don't thing for her. It's
Mm-hmm.
who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun putting that in there. And then I did it a second time similarly, but even expanded it more uh, when there's a later scene. And
Okay.
so, and so those, I mean, there are other smaller cameos, but those are the two biggies. And
Okay.
I
Very
really
nice.
enjoyed putting those in there.
Okay. And what has been so is the book is out, right? Already?
Correct.
Okay. Have you had any reviews or feedback from anyone about your book, family or friends or
It just came out.
okay.
Okay. So,
Okay.
technically, it's just now launching.
Okay.
Um, but one of my favorites was a young man that I gave it to when I was on a trip in Virginia a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me share this first. A little bit of humor in this. I had 150 books printed ahead of time before the launch currently, uh, because I knew that having reviews will be important.
Mm-hmm.
You can't write a review until it's launched. Now, what I wanted to do is put the physical book in the hands of people and find readers, put the hand in the book of those readers that would commit to writing a review.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been doing that for months, whether I'm at the mall, whether I'm walking on the path over here. And in this case, I was in Virginia, and this young man and I met, and I was able to, had to send him the book. I didn't have it yet at that time. And I said, let your girlfriend, Abby, read this. And because, it's romance, didn't expect him to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he recently got back to me and said, uh, Abby says the book was great. She said, it reminds me a lot of you, meaning him.
Yeah.
He said to to him. It reminds me a lot of you, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's great.
So that was kind of neat. And then I had a lady nearby here who is reading Francine Rivers, one of her books, and she said it reminds me of Francine Rivers. And so yeah, that's encouraging. You know,
Nice.
Francine Rivers has hundreds and thousands of
Yeah.
books out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I haven't gotten a lot of feedback just yet, but
Okay. Well, those two are
it,
great. That's
yeah,
a good
I expect
start.
at least that. I expect that of those 150 books, I still have 50, so I'm still giving them out and still
Oh,
asking for
wow.
reviews. But
Yeah,
I do hope in the early weeks I'll have 50 to 100 of them out there.
that would be great. That's awesome. It takes a lot of initiative too to get them out there. Do you enjoy talking about your book and handing your book out?
Yeah, and talking to people, briefly about the experience,
Yeah,
because
great.
again, it's while that part of me is not new, being able to go up to someone and introduce myself, the part about revealing who I am is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that became a lot of fun, has become a lot of fun for me, and I continue to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you give a writer hoping to publish his or her first book?
Don't give up, especially if it's in your heart. If it's something that's in your heart, you've got to do it. You got to pursue it. Just keep pressing on. People are going to tell you, you can't do this, or it's not going to sell, or whatever they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to listen. You just need to do what you believe you want to do, and just
Mm-hmm.
pursue it and be determined and persistent so that it gets done. Because if it's in your heart, it's got to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And, or if you just want to do it for fun, and so it's an idea
Yeah,
that
it's a
you
good
have in your
hobby.
head, that you have a concept that you want to get out there, again, let it come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very
Write it.
true.
Write it. I've
Yeah.
actually run into two or three people who share that. They share,
Oh,
I want to write, or one has told me that she writes poetry. And
mhm.
so, so I'm running into people just kind of randomly that have that desire. So
Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah. So do you see yourself writing more fiction books? I know you have a couple on the back burner, and then the third part book that you have. But do you envision yourself writing, more fiction books? Do you enjoy writing fiction?
I think it'll be more nonfiction.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, the next one I have in mind is famous people who had heard what A.W. Tozier calls the speaking voice. Um, People that have done amazing work, whether it's in art or or whether it's in music, um, didn't just happen to come across it, in my
Hmm.
opinion. And I just believe it's something that God has placed in them. So I'm doing, so that'll be a little bit of research on those
Hmm.
people that I have in mind, and it'll be telling that part of the story of how that speaking voice was just moving them to do what they had to do.
Nice. Okay. Some nonfiction. That'll
So,
be
so yeah,
interesting.
so future will be probably more that. Any fiction will be either autobiographical or of someone
Yeah.
else, or of
Uh-huh.
someone else's story. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
The beauty, I'm sorry, of being able to tell your story within fiction is you can make it interesting. My
Yeah.
my life
Elevate
otherwise
it.
is kind of boring, so you can make it a lot more fun, and you can make it, come to life in a way that at least makes it much more interesting.
Yeah.
Where if I'm just telling my story, it's just a little bit boring.
Yeah, and it allows you to be more creative and imaginative for sure too.
Yeah.
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 Well, do you have any personal or other professional goals for this year?
Well, as I say, the pursuit is the big one.
Hmm.
But it does happen to be that I've just started another business,
Okay.
and so by rewriting this book, I'll be selling it to 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 connect with some people, some young people that are looking to do their own business.
Okay,
So
very
it's kind of
cool.
a whole nother realm, but it's kind of what I've done, I've
Yeah.
been in and out of business over the years, and
Okay.
so I'm
Nice.
doing that, and that's a lot of fun, and so that's happening pretty quickly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. I do just have one last question for you, and that is, how do you hope readers feel after they finish the last page of your book?
Oh, I hope they feel like um, um, they, I hope they feel strongly encouraged by the idea that um, that we can change,
Mm-hmm.
and that uh, however we may have pushed down or ignored or run away from our emotions
Mm-hmm.
is not an excuse to continue to do it, but
Yeah.
rather is a segue into how to connect. And so I'm hoping that people be will be encouraged to consider their own spiritual place
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, their emotional place, and want desperately to be the person that God has made them to be, and to be expressive in that. So,
Yeah, that's very wonderful.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Ted, for taking the time today to sit down with me and discuss your book, Metamorphosis. We really appreciate it.
thank you so much. It's been
Yeah.
great. I really appreciate your questions. They were
Well,
very
thank you.
insightful, and appreciate you. It sounds like you had a real interest, so I really
Yeah, I
appreciate
did. I did. And yeah, thank you so much.
it.
Well, I think that's all the time we have today. Ted's book can be found at westbowpress.com. You can head there if you like this interview and wish to purchase his book. It's also available on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. And also, like he mentioned, he has a book trailer for his book, so you can view that on Amazon as well. And thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.